Listen, I don't care how broken you feel right now. I don't care how far off track life has pushed you. Because starting today, you are going to rebuild. Not all at once, but one decision, one action, one step at a time. And if you're sitting there thinking, but I don't even know where to start, then this is the exact video you need. So don't you dare click away, because the next few minutes could be the turning point you've been waiting for. Accept where you are without shame. There comes a point in every person's life when they look in the mirror and can't help but feel like they've fallen behind, like they've messed up so badly that getting back on track seems impossible. Maybe it was the failed relationship that left them shattered, or the career that didn't turn out the way they dreamed. Maybe it was one bad decision or 10 that spiraled into habits and patterns they're ashamed to admit. In those moments, the instinct is almost always the same: hide, withdraw, pretend, and carry that shame like an invisible backpack full of bricks. But here's the truth no one talks about enough. Rebuilding your life doesn't begin with a vision board or some grand 5-year plan. It starts with something far less glamorous. It starts with radical, unfiltered acceptance of where you are right now. Not where you wish you were. Not where you were 5 years ago. Right here. Right now. And more importantly, doing it without shame. This first step is often the hardest because we live in a culture that glorifies success but hides the struggle. Social media shows the after photos, not the lonely nights, the unpaid bills, or the moments spent crying on the bathroom floor. And so we internalize this belief that if we're not thriving, we must be failing. That if our life doesn't look picture perfect, then something is wrong with us. But that's a lie. And believing that lie is one of the greatest barriers to rebuilding anything meaningful. Take neuroscience, for example. Studies show that when people feel ashamed, the part of the brain associated with self-preservation and threat response, the amygdala, fires up. You literally go into survival mode. That's why shame is paralyzing. It's not just emotional, it's chemical. You stop thinking clearly. You make fear-based decisions. You shrink yourself instead of stepping forward. So if you try to rebuild your life while still carrying shame, it's like trying to run a marathon with broken ankles. You're going nowhere fast, and it's not your fault. You just haven't healed the part of you that believes you're still worthy even when life falls apart. This is why acceptance is not passive. It's not a weak surrender. It's an act of courage. It's saying, this is where I am. This is what's true. And I'm not going to lie to myself about it anymore. It's looking at your bank account, your body, your mental health, your messy apartment, your resume with gaps, your past full of regrets, and choosing not to run from it. You face it, not because you're proud of it, but because you can't fix what you won't face. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you accept your reality, you take back your power to change it. There's a powerful story about Thomas Edison, the great inventor. One night in 1914, his laboratory caught fire. The flames destroyed years of work. His son, Charles, searched frantically for him, terrified of how he'd react. But when Edison saw the blaze, he calmly told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." Charles was shocked. But Edison wasn't mourning the loss. He saw an opportunity. "It's all right," he later said. "We've just gotten rid of a lot of rubbish." In that moment, Edison wasn't in denial. He accepted the destruction fully, but without shame. That mindset allowed him to rebuild faster and stronger. And you don't have to be a genius to do the same. Maybe your fire was a divorce, a layoff, a betrayal, a diagnosis, or even just the slow burnout of losing yourself. But if you can look at the ashes and say, "Okay, this is real, and I'm still here," then you've already begun to rebuild. That moment of honesty is the foundation. Let's get even more practical. Psychologists talk about the power of self-distancing. This means observing your own life the way a friend would, with compassion instead of judgment. Imagine your best friend told you they were struggling, they'd lost their job, their relationship ended, and they felt like a failure. Would you tell them they were worthless? Would you tell them they don't deserve another chance? Of course not. You'd tell them, it's okay. You're human. This doesn't define you. So why do we talk to ourselves so differently? The goal is to develop that same tone when you speak to yourself. That inner voice has to become your ally, not your enemy, because the voice you believe becomes the direction you move. And when that voice says, you're still capable, even now, something begins to shift. The shame loses its grip. That's when momentum becomes possible. Take real-world examples. J.K. Rowling was on welfare, a single mother dealing with depression, before she ever published Harry Potter. She has said openly that hitting rock bottom was liberating. It forced her to stop pretending and start over. Howard Schultz grew up in public housing before creating Starbucks. Oprah was abused and lived in poverty before building an empire. These people didn't rise because they avoided pain. They rose because they accepted their reality and chose not to be defined by it. Now you might be thinking, that sounds nice, but my situation is different. You don't know what I've done. You don't know what I've lost. And you're right, I don't. But I do know this. Your past can explain you, but it doesn't have to define you. That's not just motivational fluff. It's brain science. The human brain has something called neuroplasticity, which means it's capable of change throughout your entire life. Your habits can change. Your mindset can change. Your emotional responses can change. But that process doesn't begin until you stop running from where you are. Acceptance also doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving yourself a starting point. Think of it like trying to use GPS. If you put in a destination but don't allow it to locate where you are right now, it's useless. The route can't be calculated. Life works the same way. Denial keeps you lost, but honesty gives you direction. So, how do you practice this in real life? Start by writing it down. Journal the truth. No filters. Just write, here's what's real right now. Not what you wish were true. What is true? Then read it. Let it sting if it has to. Cry if you need to. But don't judge it. Just observe it. This is your reality. Now breathe, because now you have something to work with. Next, say it out loud to someone safe. Maybe a friend, a therapist, a coach. Saying it out loud reduces the shame. Shame thrives in silence, but once it's spoken, it starts to die. That's when your self-trust begins to rebuild. Another powerful step: shift your language. Instead of saying, I failed, say, I'm learning. Instead of, I'm broken, say, I've been through a lot and I'm healing. Language isn't just communication, it's construction. The words you use are the bricks you build with. And remember, rebuilding is not linear. Some days will feel like progress, others will feel like collapse. But if you keep showing up, keep choosing honesty over denial, and keep releasing the shame, something powerful begins to happen. You stop identifying with your lowest moment, and you start identifying with your comeback story. You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real. And being real starts with accepting that you're not where you want to be, but refusing to be ashamed of it. That choice right there is your first step toward a life you're proud to live. Overwhelm is the silent killer of motivation. It sneaks in not when we're doing too much, but when we think we need to do everything at once. If you're trying to rebuild your life, chances are you've already had that sinking feeling. There's just too much to fix. You look at your finances, your health, your relationships, your career, your mental state. It feels like standing at the bottom of a mountain with no gear, no map, and no idea where to start climbing. That's not just discouraging, it's paralyzing. So what's the answer? Micro goals. Tiny, bite-sized, doable steps that chip away at the chaos and create momentum. Let's get something straight right now. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in a day. You just need a win. One win. And then another. Because success isn't built on intensity, it's built on consistency. And consistency is only possible when the goal is small enough that you'll actually do it. Think of it like this. If you want to get in shape and you haven't worked out in years, the worst thing you can do is try to start with a 2-hour gym session, 7 days a week. That's a recipe for burnout. But if your goal is to do 5 push-ups today, that's achievable. That's a win. And that win triggers something powerful in your brain. Here's the science. Your brain is wired to reward progress. Every time you accomplish a goal, even a tiny one, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical. That hit of dopamine doesn't just make you feel better, it also increases your motivation to keep going. That means every micro goal completed builds a feedback loop. Action, dopamine, more action. This is how habits are formed, not through willpower, but through strategic wins. Take a real-world example. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, talks about the power of identity-based habits. He tells the story of a man who lost over 100 pounds by committing to go to the gym, but only for 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes. He would walk in, do a few exercises, and leave. People thought he was crazy, but he wasn't trying to build a body. He was trying to build a habit. And once that habit became part of his identity, I'm the kind of person who works out. The results followed naturally. This is the power of micro goals. They change how you see yourself. When you set a micro goal and complete it, you're not just checking a box. You're telling your brain, I keep my promises. I do what I say I'll do. That self-trust is the foundation of rebuilding anything. Because let's be honest, if your life needs rebuilding, chances are you've broken some promises to yourself in the past. You said you'd stop drinking. You said you'd leave that toxic job. You said you'd save money, call your mom, go for a run, write the book, and you didn't. And now every time you set a goal, there's a voice in your head saying, yeah, right. That voice doesn't go away with motivational quotes. It goes away when you prove it wrong. One tiny win at a time. So let's talk strategy. How do you actually break down a big, overwhelming goal into micro goals that work? Start with your end vision. Say your life feels out of control and your goal is, I want to feel stable and strong again. Great. Now ask, what's one tiny thing I could do today that would move me 1% closer to that feeling? Maybe it's making your bed. Maybe it's drinking a full glass of water before coffee. Maybe it's deleting one toxic contact from your phone. These are small, but they matter because they are physical proof that you're no longer stuck. You're in motion. There's a Japanese philosophy called Kaizen, the practice of continuous improvement through small, incremental changes. This method helped rebuild Japan's economy after World War II. Factories implemented tiny process improvements every day, and those small changes added up to massive innovation and productivity over time. If micro goals can rebuild a war-torn nation, they can absolutely rebuild your life. Let's look at another example. Someone battling depression. To a person in a deep depressive episode, taking a shower might feel impossible. So instead of saying, take a shower, the goal becomes, sit on the edge of the tub for 30 seconds. That's it. No pressure to go further. But once they're sitting there, they might turn on the water. Then maybe they get in. One micro goal at a time, progress happens. It's not glamorous, but it's real. And more importantly, it's doable. The reason most people give up is not because they lack the desire to change, it's because they set unrealistic expectations. They think if they're not crushing it every day, they're failing. That mindset has destroyed more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. But micro goals eliminate that pressure. You're not aiming to crush it. You're aiming to show up consistently, intentionally, imperfectly. You might be wondering, okay, but how do I know if my micro goals are working? Simple. Ask yourself, am I doing them? If the answer is yes, they're working. If the answer is no, they're too big. Shrink the goal. Make it laughably small. You want it to feel so easy that skipping it would be harder than doing it. Here's a challenge. Pick one area of your life that feels overwhelming. Health, finances, confidence. Write down one micro goal per day for the next 7 days in that category. Maybe you open your bank app and check your balance without judgment. That's a win. Maybe you stretch for 2 minutes. That's a win. Maybe you text one encouraging message to someone you love. That's a win. Stack those wins. Watch what happens. You'll begin to notice a shift. It might be subtle at first. You'll feel a little more in control, a little more proud. You'll look back and think, I did that. And the best part, you'll start to believe that bigger goals are possible because you'll have built the muscle to follow through. Remember, nobody builds a house in a day. They lay bricks, one at a time. If you lay one solid brick every single day, eventually you get a foundation, then walls, then a roof, then a home. Your life is the same. Don't chase the mansion. Lay the next brick, and then the next. Rebuilding your life doesn't require perfection. It requires progress. And progress begins with micro goals. Goals so small you can't help but succeed. That success compounds. That compound builds confidence. And that confidence turns into action. The cycle repeats. And before you know it, you're not just surviving, you're rebuilding. One step, one win, one micro goal at a time. There's a powerful lie many people believe when trying to rebuild their lives, that motivation is the secret ingredient to change. They wait for it, chase it, watch videos to feel it, and then beat themselves up when it fades. But here's the raw truth. Motivation is a mood. It comes and goes like the weather. Discipline is what you build when you stop relying on motivation and start relying on yourself. And the fastest way to build discipline: daily non-negotiables. Small, consistent actions that happen no matter what. No excuses, no exceptions. Let's be honest. When your life feels like it's in pieces, everything feels negotiable. You might say, I'll try to eat better if I'm not too stressed, or I'll work out if I feel like it, or I'll journal if I have time. That language is the language of a drifting life. It gives your emotions the steering wheel. And emotions, while valid, are unreliable drivers. Some days they'll push you forward. Other days, they'll slam the brakes. That's why you need non-negotiables, because they don't ask for your mood's permission. A non-negotiable is an action you commit to daily, no matter what. It's brushing your teeth. It's drinking water first thing. It's showing up for yourself in one small, consistent way that reaffirms, I matter. My rebuild matters. And I'm in control. These habits are the scaffolding that holds up the new version of you while you're still building. Let's look at elite performers. Navy SEALs, Olympic athletes, CEOs. They don't operate on motivation. They operate on systems. A Navy SEAL doesn't skip his morning run because he didn't feel like it. Why? Because discipline has been trained into his identity. And that identity starts with daily rituals. One push-up becomes 10. 10 minutes of reading becomes an hour of deep learning. These people don't negotiate with themselves. They follow a code. You need that same code, not because you're in the military or running a Fortune 500 company, but because your life deserves structure, especially when it's being rebuilt. Neuroscience backs this up. The brain craves patterns. When you repeat the same action at the same time every day, your brain builds what's called a cue routine reward loop. The cue might be waking up. The routine might be making your bed. The reward might be a feeling of clarity. The more you repeat this loop, the more automatic the behavior becomes. You no longer have to decide. You just do. That's the holy grail of discipline, making powerful choices automatic. Let's ground this in a real-life story. Consider Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, one of the most consistent humans on the planet. He works out early, every single day, even during filming, even during injuries, even when traveling. Why? Because it's a non-negotiable. He said in interviews that it's his anchor, his mental reset, his foundation. He doesn't debate it. He just gets up and does it. That discipline didn't come from feeling motivated. It came from respecting his standards. Now, you don't need to be the Rock, but you do need to define your own non-negotiables. Think of them like mental anchors. When the storms of life hit, and they will, these anchors keep you from drifting back into chaos. Maybe it's writing down your goals each morning. Maybe it's 20 minutes of movement. Maybe it's taking your vitamins, calling one supportive friend, or shutting your phone off at 9 p.m. These might sound small, but done daily, they're revolutionary. One of the best ways to make non-negotiables stick is to pair them with identity. Don't just say, "I want to meditate daily." Say, "I'm the kind of person who centers myself every day, no matter what." The identity shift matters. When you tie behavior to identity, you stop trying and start being. And being consistent changes how you view yourself, which changes everything. A powerful example of this comes from a study by the British Journal of Health Psychology. Researchers asked participants to exercise over a 2-week period. One group was told to do it when they felt like it. Another group was told to do it at a specific time daily, creating a non-negotiable. The difference was staggering. The group with a scheduled habit followed through 91% of the time. The others barely reached 30%. Discipline isn't magic. It's method. You might think, "But my days are chaotic. I don't have time for a routine." That's exactly why you need one. When your life lacks structure, your energy leaks. Every decision becomes a debate. Should I work out? What should I eat? Should I clean the house now or later? That mental friction drains willpower. But with non-negotiables, you remove the debate. You free up energy. You reduce stress. You protect progress. Now here's the kicker. Your non-negotiables don't have to be impressive. They just have to be consistent. If brushing your teeth, walking around the block, and drinking a bottle of water are your 3 daily actions, you're winning. Because that's 3 victories your past self wouldn't have claimed. That's how discipline is born. Let's look at someone who went from rock bottom to world class. David Goggins, former Navy SEAL, ultramarathon runner, author of Can't Hurt Me. He grew up abused, overweight, nearly failed out of high school. But he rebuilt his life through radical discipline. One of his daily non-negotiables? Running. Not because it's fun, but because it's proof. Every day he runs, he proves to himself he's not the weak version of his past. His discipline is armor. You can build your own version. Your armor may be different, but it will protect you all the same. So how do you start? Choose 3 non-negotiables. Not 10. Not 20. 3. Make them simple. Make them personal. Make them powerful. And above all, make them daily. Here's a sample. Wake up and write 1 sentence of gratitude. Drink 16 ounces of water before coffee. Move your body for 5 minutes, no matter what. That's it. If that feels like too much, pick one. But whatever you pick, treat it like it's law. Do it even when it's inconvenient. Do it even when no one sees. Because every time you do, you're carving a new identity, one action at a time. And here's the final truth. You will miss a day. Life will happen. You'll get sick. You'll forget. You'll mess up. That's not failure. That's human. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about what you do next. You don't start over. You restart. You remind yourself that a single missed day doesn't erase your progress. It tests your commitment. Rebuilding your life requires a foundation, and that foundation is built not on grand gestures, but on the quiet discipline of daily non-negotiables. One small action, done with consistency and intention, becomes a habit. Habits shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. That's how the broken rebuild. Not with noise, with quiet, stubborn consistency. Every single day. Rebuilding your life doesn't just require action, it requires subtraction. You cannot move forward carrying the weight of everything that broke you. You cannot build a new version of yourself while dragging old pain, old habits, old excuses, and outdated beliefs behind you. There's a point in every transformation where it's not about doing more, it's about letting go, cutting ties, releasing the grip on what no longer serves you, even if it once did. Especially if it once did. Think of a rocket. In order to launch into space, it must first shed its boosters. Those boosters are essential at the beginning. They give it lift, help it escape gravity. But once it's gained altitude, they become dead weight. If the rocket doesn't let go, it will never reach orbit. It will crash under the pressure of what's no longer useful. That's your life. There are relationships, routines, belief systems, even versions of yourself that helped you survive. But now, if you don't release them, they'll be the very reason you stay stuck. So let's start where it hurts. Toxic relationships. We hold on to people out of loyalty, history, guilt, or fear of being alone. But let's ask the honest question. Do they bring you peace, or do they bring you pain? Do they inspire your growth, or keep you small? If someone constantly dismisses your goals, undermines your confidence, or keeps you tethered to your worst habits, they're not part of your future. They are part of your past. And no, you don't have to hate them. You don't even have to confront them. But you do need to distance yourself. Quietly, powerfully, permanently, if necessary. Because peace is a high-frequency state, and not everyone is willing to rise to meet it. Let them go. Letting go doesn't stop with people. It includes patterns. Self-sabotage is a pattern. Procrastination is a pattern. Addiction is a pattern. Negative self-talk is a pattern. And the dangerous thing about patterns is that they feel safe, not because they're healthy, but because they're familiar. Your brain is wired for familiarity, even if it's painful. So when you try to change, the discomfort isn't just fear, it's your brain resisting the unfamiliar. But don't confuse discomfort with danger. Growth feels unsafe at first, but so does healing. Here's something to consider. Caterpillars dissolve completely in the cocoon. They don't grow wings and legs on top of what they already have. Their entire form melts into cellular soup. Then, from that chaos, a new structure forms. That's not metaphor. That's biology. Real transformation requires a total surrender of what was. If you want to rebuild your life, you must be willing to dissolve parts of yourself first. Let go of shame. It's not fuel, it's poison. Shame keeps you tied to your lowest moment. It says, you are what you did. But growth says, you are what you choose next. If you made mistakes, good. You're human. Forgive yourself. Not because what happened was okay, but because carrying it won't fix it. You're not here to relive the pain. You're here to learn from it. Carry the lesson, not the wound. Let go of identities that no longer fit. I'm the funny one. I'm the fixer. I'm the black sheep. I'm not good with money. These are stories, scripts you've repeated so often they became who you think you are. But you can rewrite them. You are not a character in someone else's story. You are the author. And every time you cling to a limiting identity, you're locking the door to the next chapter. So unlock it. Start fresh. You are allowed to evolve. Let's talk clutter. not just emotional, but physical. If your environment is full of things that remind you of who you were, it's time to declutter. Clean your space. Throw out what's broken. Donate what you've outgrown. Create room, literal room, for a new version of your life to exist. There's a reason monks live simply. Less noise, less distraction, more clarity. And clarity is essential when you're rebuilding. Letting go also means surrendering timelines. Maybe you thought you'd be married by 30, or have your dream job by now, or heal faster. It didn't happen. So what? That's not failure. That's life. Release the need to control the timing. You're not late. You're learning. The sooner you surrender the fantasy, the sooner you can embrace reality. And reality, when faced with courage, is always more powerful than illusion. Here's a hard truth. Healing isn't comfortable. You will miss the things that hurt you. You will crave the very habits you're trying to break. That's normal. Withdrawal doesn't just happen with substances. It happens with patterns. Your nervous system is detoxing from its former life. Be patient. Be kind to yourself. But do not go back. What's behind you is familiar, but what's ahead of you is freedom. A study in the Journal of Clinical Psychology found that people who visualized letting go of emotional burdens experienced measurable drops in stress levels. One exercise asked participants to write down everything they wanted to release: fears, regrets, limits, and physically throw the paper away. That symbolic act triggered real psychological relief. So do it. Write it all down. Burn it. Shred it. Bury it. Let it go. You don't need to know who you'll become. You just need to release who you're not. Letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing peace over pressure. It's saying, I'm done dragging what no longer belongs in my hands. And that frees you to carry something better: clarity, purpose, strength. Let go of needing to be liked by everyone. That desire will keep you imprisoned in performance. Not everyone will understand your growth. Some people benefited from your brokenness. They liked you small. They liked you unsure. They liked you needing them. When you rise, it challenges them to rise too, and not everyone's ready for that. Let them misunderstand you. Your healing does not require their approval. Let go of perfection. You will make mistakes. You will backslide. You will cry. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're rebuilding. Perfectionism is fear wearing a mask. It says, if I don't do this flawlessly, I'm not enough. But enough is not a performance. It's a birthright. Show up messy. Show up real. That's where true transformation begins. Let go of the need to always feel ready. You won't. Readiness is a myth. You will rarely feel 100% sure when you take a leap, and that's okay. The courage comes after the leap, not before. Your future self is waiting on the other side of that risk. Meet them there. You might think, but I don't know how to let go. Here's the truth. You already do. You've done it 1,000 times. You let go of old shoes, old clothes, old music tastes, old phone numbers. You've moved on before. You just didn't name it healing. This time, it's conscious. This time, it's intentional. This time, it's sacred. Letting go is an act of faith. Faith in yourself. Faith in the possibility that something better is ahead. And something is ahead. A new chapter. A stronger you. But you cannot reach for it with full hands. So release. Exhale. Drop what you no longer need. And with those open hands, start building the life that's been waiting for you all along. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Filtered photos, polished achievements, perfect routines, flawless success stories. But here's what no one tells you. Perfection is the enemy of progress. It paralyzes you. It tells you not to start unless everything's in place. It whispers that one mistake erases all the work you've done. It makes you afraid to try, afraid to fail, and worst of all, afraid to be seen as in progress. But the truth, progress is where real power lives. It's messy, it's inconsistent, it's human, and it's exactly what rebuilding your life demands. Think about how you learned to walk. You didn't read a book on perfect walking form. You stood up, wobbled, fell. You grabbed furniture. You cried. You crawled again. And then, step by unsteady step, you walked. No part of that process was perfect, but every stumble was still progress. That's what rebuilding looks like. Not smooth, not straight, but forward. When people get stuck in rebuilding, it's usually not because they're lazy or unmotivated. It's because they think they have to get it all right. I didn't stick to my plan. Might as well give up. I missed a workout. Guess I'll restart Monday. I broke down again. I thought I was past this. That perfectionist mindset is a trap. You don't need to get it right every time. You just need to keep going. Let's look at research. A study from the University of Scranton showed that only 8% of people stick to New Year's resolutions. Why? Because most aim for perfection. No sugar ever. Work out every single day. Never lose my temper again. But life happens. One bad day leads to guilt. Guilt leads to quitting. And quitting confirms the false belief, I'll never change. But when the same people shift focus from perfect outcomes to consistent progress, success rates skyrocket. Why? Because they build resilience. They expect slip-ups. And they keep moving forward anyway. Here's an example. Meet James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. His philosophy is rooted in this simple truth. If you improve just 1% a day, you'll be 37 times better in a year. Not perfect, just 1%. Small wins compound into massive change. That's how compound interest works in finance, and that's how it works in personal growth too. Every small action is a deposit. Every tiny step adds up. Let's make this practical. You want to get in shape. A perfectionist says, I have to go to the gym 5 times a week, eat clean, get 8 hours of sleep, and track every calorie. The second they miss one workout or eat pizza, they crash emotionally. A progress-focused person says, today I moved for 10 minutes. That's a win. I'm showing up for myself. That mindset leads to long-term change because it allows room for real life. The same goes for healing from trauma. You won't wake up one day and feel done. Healing is non-linear. You'll have good days. Then out of nowhere, grief or anxiety will hit you again. That doesn't mean you're back to square one. It means you're human. The real power is not in never breaking down. It's in how you rebuild after. Progress over perfection. Progress gives you grace. It teaches you to celebrate effort, not just outcome. To value the process, not just the product. It keeps you in motion. And momentum, even slow momentum, beats stillness every time. Think of anyone who's accomplished something great. Entrepreneurs, athletes, artists. They didn't start at the top. They had rough drafts, lost money, got rejected, failed publicly. The difference is they didn't stop. They fell forward. Because progress is fueled by 2 things, consistency and courage. The courage to be bad before you're good. The consistency to keep showing up even when it's hard. Let me share the story of Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx. She started with no experience, no investors, and no roadmap. Her prototype, a pair of scissors and a bad idea that wouldn't leave her alone. She failed constantly, made embarrassing pitches, but she kept improving day by day. Today, she's a billionaire. Not because she was perfect, because she persisted. Or consider J.K. Rowling. She was broke, rejected by 12 publishers, and deeply depressed. But she wrote, every day, little by little, page by page. Her success didn't come from a flawless journey. It came from imperfect progress stacked over time. Now, let's talk about comparison, the thief of joy. On social media, it looks like everyone else has their life together. But you're seeing their highlight reel, not their blooper reel. Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's finished product. Your journey is valid. Your speed is valid. The only person you need to compete with is who you were yesterday. Beat that person, not anyone else. If you slip, stumble, or fall, you are not failing. You are learning. If you show up, even when it's uncomfortable, you are succeeding. If you're still trying, even if it's messy, you are winning. You are proof that starting small is better than not starting at all. Progress teaches resilience. It hardens your mindset. Every time you push through a bad day, you reinforce your strength. Every step counts. Every inch matters. You don't climb a mountain in one leap. You do it one step, one breath, one painful decision at a time. And the summit, it's not found in perfection. It's found in perseverance. So when you rebuild your life, don't wait to feel flawless. Just start. Show up. One tiny change, one new habit, one better choice. That's enough. Then do it again tomorrow. Stack the wins. Celebrate the small victories. And let them build a new version of you from the ground up. Because rebuilding isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment to choose progress, even when you don't feel ready, even when it's slow, even when no one sees it. Especially then. That's where the magic happens. If you've made it to this point, I want you to pause and recognize something powerful. You're doing the work. You're not here by accident. You're rebuilding something sacred, your life, and you're doing it the right way, one step at a time, not for perfection, but for purpose, not to impress others, but to rise for yourself. So let this message stay with you. Let it echo in your hardest moments. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next small, brave step. That's enough. That's everything. And if this video stirred something in you, if it lit even a small fire inside, don't let it die. Stay connected. Keep showing up. And surround yourself with voices that build you, not break you. Backhand index pointing right, like this video. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe to the channel. Backhand index pointing right and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single message designed to lift you higher. I'm here for you, not just today, but every time you need a push, a reminder, or a voice telling you are capable of more. Stay strong. Keep going. And remember, rebuilding your life isn't about giant leaps. It's about consistent steps. And you just took another one.